What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Breaking Bet here on this Friday, February 19th. Unfortunately, the live streaming is still up and running for StreamYard, but we do have a workaround here that was just posted for people to, be able to get that going on your Twitter stream. But join with me. My guy, Tobey Schulman, running it back after a solid first weekend back on the board. Toby, thanks for locking in with us.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me again. And, great feeling Thursday night knowing we got college ball on this weekend. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, dude, it's a big it was a nice first weekend just to kind of have the sport back, ready to go in a position where we saw some of these big name guys really have a good first weekend, man. I mean, there was a lot of guys that were just super excited for, like my guy Jackson Flora. We talked about plus 140, absolute banger at Southern Miss, Hundy on the black to end the inning. I mean, dude, I told everybody we may never see Jackson Flores start be that big of an underdog.
I agree. It's going to be hard to find one, at least on the schedule for the remainder of the season, especially when they get out to playing in the Big West. Like, I mean, we're not going to find any game probably where he's on the mound where they're not favored by a good amount.
Yeah, it was a little bizarre to say the least. But look, man, I'm excited. We have a pretty solid slate in terms of the overall weekend. Again, as it is early in the season, we get some of these tournaments, but the really good thing is we get to see a lot of these teams that wouldn't play each other otherwise until you get to June. And, we're going to get a lot of that this weekend. Arlington, Texas, they're back in Globe Life with a bunch of different teams taking on the Energy Bank tournament. They're down in Jacksonville this weekend, Round Rock. Like, there's a lot going on here. So we're going to get into it and highlight the best of the Friday slate. But before we do that, don't forget, it's still early enough in the season. Make sure you lock into that 2026 College Baseball VIP Discord. We're in for a big season. It was a rough opening weekend, but all time we're up over 116 units. So go on dubclub.win/_JohnnyVTV/ and get in the chat. A lot of energy in this chat, along with a lot of winners. So let's get going. But Toby, look, man, Friday slate, it differs this week compared to last week because there's a lot of lopsided prices. Whereas last week we got a lot more because there was no sample size. It was strictly off preseason rankings and maybe what happened last year. But this week, the matchups aren't as, I don't want to say good on Friday, but there's no true headliner outside of TCU, UCLA, which we'll get to later. But are you looking for anything in particular as we start highlighting this Friday slate?
I mean, in terms of games that I just want to watch as a fan, a ton of games, honestly. I mean, it's still a really solid slate. I could go down the line and talk about a bunch of games that I think, theoretically could be really good games. But honestly, like you said, it's a bunch of pretty lopsided matchups in terms of, the betting lines. And the way last weekend went, seeing just a very small sample size, I think it's going to be me kind of overthinking everything here. So I don't know if I'm really more excited to watch as a fan or to actually bet these games. There's a lot of games I'm looking at, man. Honestly, I don't know really where to begin because we get another slate where it starts early at noon and then goes all the way until late tomorrow night.
Yeah, I got to go to Miami tomorrow morning. So on my way back, I'll definitely be locking into the first game that we're going to be talking about, Michigan, FSU. The Wolverines, man, listen, the Big Ten doesn't really have a lot of talent outside of UCLA in terms of teams that might be able to make that run into Omaha. But Michigan, man, like they had a really good weekend. The competition, no slouch, man. They played Oregon State. They played Arizona. It was definitely fun to watch Michigan. They will not die. Definitely a lot of interesting talent that they have here, headlined by their Friday guy, Tate Carey, who delivered a very strong performance against the Oregon State Beavers head-to-head against Dax Whitney.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are really exciting. Oh, what's up, Eccles? These guys are just really exciting to watch. And I know I talked about them briefly, and I can't really remember exactly what I said. I said they had like an outside chance of competing in the Big Ten, obviously, because of UCLA. They seem to think that they have more than an outside chance because that takes guts to go out there and face Dax Whitney and then turn around and take a W in that game. So everything I thought about Michigan has kind of been raised a little bit. They've kind of raised the bar for me, and I love FSU, and I think they're a more complete team than Oregon State. But I don't know. Plus 200 is really it's intriguing me, Johnny. I don't know about you.
Yeah, look, man. Again, this is a tough week, maybe to parlay some of these teams, at least for Friday. And mind you, a lot of these matchups, it's just a one-time hit because they're part of an overall tournament. But I said the same thing. I took a look. I'm like, are we sure FSU should be minus 270 against Michigan? Like, it's off face value. The Florida State Seminoles are obviously a College World Series contender where Michigan's like, hey, maybe they'll get into the tournament.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, it's early in the season, and we see a lot of times early in the season, lines are mispriced. There's no sample size to really go off of like what a team or what players look like. And the truth is, man, a lot of these stars aren't really settled in yet. So while we do see a lot of these favorites, run roughshod over these underdogs, there's a lot of cases where these underdogs are standing up to the bell. They're answering the bell. And I think Michigan, bro, deserves a little bit more respect. And Florida State is a great program. Wes Mendez is a strong pitcher. Mm-hmm. He had a good year last year, jumping now from the Sunday roll to the Friday roll, at least to start the season. Miles Bailey's a superstar, along with some of their other players like Hunter Carnes, Cal Fisher, et cetera, et cetera. But on a neutral field in Arlington, minus 270 is a big number. I like Michigan. It's a Michigan or pass. I think I'm going to at least throw a half a unit on the Wolverines, man. It's not just the fact that Tate Carey is a good Friday guy that I think can go head-to-head with this lineup. They're in a big league ballpark, which, we saw a lot of home runs last week, but it's too early in the season to be laying minus 270 on a neutral field with a pitcher in Tate Carey who's capable. And let's look at it this way, dude. In a neutral field last week, he beat Dax Whitney head-to-head. And granted, Oregon State FSU lineup a little bit different. But Dax Whitney is a better pitcher than Wes Mendez. Stanford, Arizona, Oregon State, they were all close games. And, realistically, Arizona, Oregon State, which they played 3 of the 4 games combined, Stanford being the other one, all of them were close games, and they really were able to answer they were able to counter whatever the other team threw at them. So I think the Wolverines are a live dog in this one. I really like what Tate Carey and company have. So I think Michigan's at least worth a consideration. Definitely something I'm going to be looking at playing. And if the run line's 2.5, I think Michigan plus 2.5 is a pretty solid look as well.
100%. I mean, going off of what you said about Carey, I mean, they're playing in a ballpark that's so much more favorable for pitchers too. I mean, if you just look at, park factor numbers as a whole, it's one of the worst parks for hitters to go in as big leaguers. So you go from – they were in Surprise last weekend, right, on the neutral site. That's like one of the premier destinations to hit home runs in professional baseball. Like, he's got to be feeling good about going into Globe Life tomorrow and at least playing in a park that's more suitable for him. So, I mean, I think, you're getting way too good of value. I'm interested to see how the line moves tonight, if it does much, but – plus 200. I mean, dude, I'm thinking I'm just going to take this one.
I would say realistically, this line should be a little bit closer to like Florida State minus 175, Michigan plus plus 135. I think that's how they correlate. That's where I'd make it. I think this is just too large. Wes Mendez is a good pitcher, but he is not. In my opinion, he hasn't proven that he's an ace right now.
Yeah,
being able to go as a Friday guy. And I'm not trying to take anything away from him because I think he's a good pitcher, but there's a difference between the Sunday guy behind Jamie Arnold and Joey Vellini and being the number 1 ace. Big difference.
Big difference, yeah.
Especially for a guy that had some command trouble last year. Like where a start where he'd blow up and just walk 5 or 6 guys, and that can completely turn the game around. But Michigan or pass for me for sure. I would also not be one of these people that's putting Florida State in a parlay. Not worth it, and definitely on upset alert.
Yeah.
All right, UNC, ECU, we get this little weekend series every season before the start of conference play. It looks like it should be Jason DeCaro against Ethan Nordby. Toby, I was all over Xavier being a live dog last week. They not only won that Friday game against Ethan Nordby, they took the series.
Yeah.
Xavier, live dog, takes down ECU. This one's at the Jungle. Should be DeCaro again, who had a good start against Indiana, who, by the way, has some boppers in their lineup, most notably Jake Hamley. Are you laying it here with UNC, putting them in a parlay? What are you doing with this one?
I probably will, honestly. ECU really, I didn't like what I saw from them this weekend. And, Ethan Norby is another story. Having him on the mound is obviously going to make me think a little bit better things about ECU. But North Carolina, their offense, and I think you even said it to me last week, was kind of just a big question mark because we hadn't seen what the group could do together. And they've picked up 5 quality wins right in a row. I know they're not maybe technically quality wins, but they beat an undefeated Longwood team in the midweek. They swept Indiana, took out Richmond as well. I think that, they're starting to click offensively here early on. And with DeCaro on the mound, I think it's kind of the perfect storm here to use as a perfect parlay piece.
Yeah, I agree, man. Look, ECU and UNC always play each other tough. That's just what it is. In-state rivalry. It's almost like a conference rivalry.
Yeah.
But the truth is, man, like UNC actually played a little bit better than I thought. Obviously, they got lucky with that egregious error late in the weekend. But DeCaro looked good, man. DeCaro was definitely sharp against Indiana. And let's be real. Is the ECU offense that much better than what Indiana has? I mean, if Ethan Norby bends and he gives up 3 or 4 runs, I don't know if they're going to be able to get to Jason DeCaro. And then you have a Tar Heel bullpen that is going to rank as one of the top units in the country. So the pitching advantage, in my opinion, front to back, definitely favors the Tar Heels. And I think while UNC's offense is in a period of transition, it's definitely better than what ECU's putting out. And granted, Toby, this game's at the Jungle, so a routine pop-up can carry out of there and change the whole complexion of the game. But I like the Tar Heels. Am I laying 210 straight? No, but I have North Carolina in a parlay here. I think that's a fair look for at least the Friday spot. So let's go with the Heels here. Peep the watch. That's my guy, Logan, man. This is a good friend of the show here. Logan's always in on it. He's a big college baseball guy. Let's get back to winning, Nolan or Logan. We got to get back on the right side of the train here. All right, Oregon State, Baylor, Dax motherfucking Whitney, superstar extraordinaire, top pitcher, most likely off the board next summer. Kid is a stud, dude. I mean, and Whitney, let's be real, against what now we've seen might be a pretty solid Michigan lineup. Dotted them, struck out the side in the first inning. And then he had a little bit of struggles with the efficiency, walked some guys, worked some deep counts. I was a little upset because underdogs actually offering, and we're going to get into this. They didn't offer anything ahead of the podcast. Otherwise, I would have included some stuff. But they offer strikeout props, and Whitney's was 6.5. And I was like, oh, that's an easy over. Strikes out the side first inning, and then can't get 4 more over the next 4 innings. And I was a little surprised. But, I mean, look, man, Dax Whitney he's that guy, bro. I mean, you're hard-pressed to tell me there's 5, maybe even 3 better pitchers in the country than Dax Whitney. Jackson Flores on that list, by the way.
Yeah.
But sit at 99, 100, change up, 2 breaking balls. I mean, Dax Whitney's that guy. Oregon State minus 200. I don't like what I've seen from Oregon State's offense. Easton past the salt tall is their guy. I mean, he was a guy that had some big performances last season, and I think he's going to take a big step now. Now, more is required from him. But I don't love the rest of the Oregon State lineup. And Toby, this is what I highlighted preseason. Like, you got Singer and you got Tall. Now you're having to get production from these other sources. And Jacob Craig, like, dude, he hits bombs, but he doesn't do anything else. It's either a strikeout or it's a home run. So I don't love the Oregon State lineup, but I think they bounce back on Dax Day.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the same thing, and this is a really tough one because, like I said, after this very small sample size, 1 start, 1 game, I start to get really like overthinky with all these games, and you'd think to yourself, Oregon State cannot afford to drop another early season game with Dax Whitney on the mound, but Baylor's undefeated still. Like, they had a guy hit 3 grand slams in 1 game. Like, they, granted, it hasn't been against the best comp. They did beat Texas State in the midweek, who I believe were undefeated at the time, 3-0. But I gotta go with the Beavers here again. If they can't take this game here, I'll probably put them on the no bet list for the foreseeable future. But I'm gonna go with Dax Whitney here, and I'm gonna give Baylor their first loss of the season.
So they're going to go with Baylor's going to go with Stefan Stahl, who pitched last Friday, lefty, and then they go to Ethan Calder. And if you remember, Ethan Calder at the early part of last season had some little juice. Baylor was a live dog in some of his starts. Obviously, it's a little too early in the season to know exactly what this Beavers offense is going to be, and what do they look like against a lefty here. Stahl only threw 2 1/3 against New Mexico State. Didn't strike out a batter, so you don't really know what you're going to get from him. But I mean, realistically, last season it was only 18 2/3. So this isn't a guy that's got a ton of experience giving you length in a ball game. So that's one of these smaller sample sales. And look, it's a big difference between playing New Mexico State versus Oregon State, and this is part of that Round Rock, that tournament. So this isn't at Corvallis. But I think Oregon State, Dax Whitney, minus 200 is a fair price. I know we have some concerns, but I can't not back the Beavers on Dax Day. I mean, we got burned last week doing it, but it's not his fault.
No, not at all.
As soon as he leaves the game, I am interested to see what they're doing with their bullpen, because we saw it last week. I think it was a 4-game set because they played on Monday. If I'm not mistaken, but I don't really know what they're doing with their bullpen, because Wyatt Queen I don't think he came in until game 3, and I thought maybe they were saving him for one of the starts. It didn't happen. They saved Segura, which it's fine. Segura's a fine starter, but they didn't really use Wyatt Queen until later in the week. They went with Alberto Rojas, who was pretty solid, great changeup, insanely high arm slot delivery. But I feel like the Beavers, are definitely going to have to be playing around with the formula that works this year if they want to have a shot to get back to Omaha.
Yeah, you can't do the same thing you did against Michigan and expect that to work. It's just crazy.
But I'm excited that. I can never get enough watching Dax Whitney.
Nah, dude.
All right, Nebraska, Louisville, back to Globe Life. Louisville had a very, very shitty opening weekend. They lost the series to Michigan State, made amends on Sunday. Wyatt Danilowicz, I believe is how you say it.
Yeah, I think.
It was great. I mean, he was a Penn piece last year. Now he's joining the rotation. Looks like he could end up being the Friday guy with the way he threw. Stuff was looking good. But Ethan Eberle is most likely going to be going for Louisville. Did not have a great start. Eberle is solid.
Yeah.
Is he an ACC Friday guy? Remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But I don't think Eberle's not a bad pitcher. I just don't know if I'm convinced I have to roll with Louisville on a Friday. Louisville's offense didn't really look that good other than Sunday. Michigan State had their way. And Nebraska throwing Ty Horn. Ty Horn pretty solid.
Yeah.
I don't think this line is egregious. I just think there's an advantage with Nebraska on a neutral field with Ty Horn throwing. Louisville was in the College World Series, and they're a little bit more of a notable program in recent years, so they get a little bit more of the market advantage. But I don't think there's a definitive pitching advantage for Louisville. I think their offense is obviously more talented, but look, man, they got off to a slow start, so who's to say that doesn't carry over?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I didn't even really know that Zion Rose was going to be out last weekend, and that was a huge missing piece for the Cardinals offense for sure.
He's out again.
Yeah, I was just trying to look that up while you were breaking down the game a little bit, but he'll be out again this weekend. I saw Kendall Rogers actually put it out yesterday, so that's another huge piece gone. And Lucas Moore has tried to do what he could to pick up the slack, and he's just not a power guy, so he's not just going to get Louisville back into games off one swing. I don't really think I could go with Louisville here. Nebraska's already made me a lot of money here to start out the season, and good value with him again. I like Ty Horn a lot. He looked really solid in that first start. I think Louisville's still kind of just struggling to find their identity as a team, and I think now's the time to capitalize against that. I think Nebraska knows that they're underrated. They got a chip on their shoulder still. Give me them at plus 110.
Yeah, I agree. And the big point of emphasis here is neutral field. As we get further into to the season, what you guys are going to notice is there's a big home field advantage, especially on Friday nights. The travels is not just is part of it. It's not the only thing, but there's just something to be said for, especially in the ACC or the SEC, where you're a home field advantage, especially in some of these other crowds like Arkansas or LSU or I don't know, TCU, whatever it is. There's some of these crowds that are just, they get into it and they take the game over.
Yep.
Being in neutrals is definitely a different way of handicapping it. This is not us saying, well, Nebraska's going to win the road to Louisville. Because if you notice, a lot of times last year and the year before, and shout out to my guy Noah Bina because he really turned me on to this a few years ago. If you went back and looked at it in the SEC or the ACC, a lot of times the home team wins game one. It's not a coincidence. So being on a neutral field, I think this should probably be a little bit closer to maybe a minus 115 pick 'em, or at worst Louisville minus 125, Nebraska minus 105. I think plus 110 is a little too much value here. I actually have Nebraska this weekend. I'm deciding if I'm going to make it an official pick. What I mean by that is I have Nebraska in a little long shot parlay.
Yeah, I think I'll probably make him an official pick, honestly. Like I said, they hit for me a couple times last weekend. Looking to keep that streak going, man. I like watching this team too, honestly. So
yeah, they just don't have a ton of star power,
right?
Which is like, why they rely on 1 through 9 to have some sort of production, which it could be tough if you don't have one guy that's going to take the game over. And like they have some guys, Sanderson comes to mind, but I think Nebraska's a solid program. I do miss watching Mason McConaughey on Friday night, so I wish he was back, but Tommy John and he got drafted. So
yeah.
All right, let's talk about a game that's really, really out of whack here. Missouri State at Ole Miss. Dude, am I bugging, or Missouri State? They're such a big underdog. I don't understand it. Like, I know Hunter Elliott's pitching for Ole Miss, but the disrespect on Mizzou State is real right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen me say it on Twitter, but this is America's team, man. Missouri State is like one of the most fun teams to watch right now. Plus 1,700 to win the CUSA. I slammed that, dude. I love the value with this team. Caden Bogenpol has one of the most professional swings I've seen in college baseball this year. He looks like, I've seen Jordan comps. I've seen just some of the craziest comps out of all the power hitters in the MLB. Like, this kid can swing it. And the bomb that he hit this past weekend, they had the ump had to like push him towards first base because he was admiring it. And if you don't think, they're going to feed off that energy in Oxford, I mean, I got something else to tell you, man. This team is fun to watch. They can get hot quick, and they're a lot better than people give them credit for. I mean, a lot of their offense has shown up to start out the year. So it's not just guys like Bogenpol. It's guys across the board here. I don't even think he has like the best production across the roster. So there's something to think about here with this plus 300. I don't know if I'll take it, but be interested to see what the run line is for sure.
Yeah, Caden Bogenpol, man, he is probably one of the best players you never heard of if you don't follow college baseball. Like, this is probably a guy that's going to go, I don't know, what would you say, like maybe the 3rd round, 4th round?
Oh, if that happens, I'll be so disappointed. But there's a good chance that does happen. I hope he's a day 2 guy.
But like, we've seen guys like this where, because he plays at Missouri State and overall as a team, like, they don't get a lot of TV time or publicity. Guys like this who are awesome, they're kind of, because they're a product of an environment where they're not on a team that's making it to Omaha. You don't really know about them unless you follow the sport. So these guys a lot of time end up falling to day 2. It could be a more cost-friendly pick, with slot value. But like, Caden Bogenpol could realistically be a 4th rounder. And it's not because he's not talented enough to be a 2nd rounder. It's just because you could get him cheaper and you're going to take a high school guy or whatever the case may be. But this is one of those guys where he could go in the 4th round, and then in a year he's ripping through the minor leagues, and then like MLB.com or whoever highlights Caden Bogenpol, who hit like 20 home runs in 45 games in Double-A and is batting 330 and just has an incredible, powerful swing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, like let's keep an eye on this dark horse. Like, how there's guys that they do that all the time. But what I'm saying is this kid is so good that I still don't think he gets enough recognition. And that includes the sports books. So obviously it's not just Bogenpol. There's other factors, but Hunter Elliott is a lefty. Obviously, he's good. He's back. Like Ole Miss at home, they're a team that can put up runs. But I just don't think minus 425 this early in the season against an offense that can swing it is a good number. Like I don't understand this. And I know Missouri State lost a lot of their boppers from last year, but they keep their best player. Mm-hmm. And they have a pitcher, Michael Yusupchuk, who had a pretty good start against ULL. Like ULL is not Ole Miss, but that's a solid program they run down there. 6 shutty last week. This is a guy that's got something to prove. He had some good moments last year. I wouldn't be surprised to see Missouri State hang in this one and ultimately pull one out. Like I definitely can see Missouri State taking at least one game this weekend.
Yeah,
Plus 300. I know Hunter Elliott's pitching, but plus 300 on this team that can realistically go into Ole Miss and drop 7 or 8 runs. Like, come on.
Yeah.
There's no way I wouldn't take a shot on this. At least half a unit. The run line's probably going to be 4.5.
Yeah.
I'd probably take that full unit. I think Missouri State can keep this one close.
Yeah.
I really do. I think they can win outright. I don't think they win the series, but I definitely think they can get one. And to be honest, Friday night 3-1 is something I'm going to be looking at.
Yeah, and that one run for Missouri State, the Caden Bogenpol home run. we'll bank on that one, man.
Yeah, like it just to me it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you got to try and play it.
I think realistically, Missouri State should be like 2-1.
I agree. Yeah, this is another one, man. This is why I feel like everybody constantly says the lines at the start of the college baseball season are always so skewed. Because I feel like every game we've talked about here, we've been like, okay, the line should be a little bit different or really different. Like these lines are just, I don't know, man. Plus 300 is way too tempting to not take.
There's only a couple teams that I would say this is a fair line. Arkansas, LSU,
Texas, maybe.
Maybe Texas, maybe.
Georgia
Tennessee, no. Oklahoma, no. Vandy, no. Like plus 300 for this team, there's maybe only a few teams that I would say it's fair. Ole Miss is not one of them. So if you're looking for an upset, you're looking to throw $50 on a little long shot here this weekend. I think Michigan and Missouri State are 2 of them. I think at least one of them has a really good chance to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe we cook up a little long shot underdog parlay.
I was just gonna say that, dude. That sounds way too fun.
Mizzou
little
State,
happy unit on it.
Come on, I might throw 500 on that.
You gotta have a little bit of fun.
After I'm done, I'll take it to the Hard Rock and rinse them a little bit more.
I love it.
Shit. All right, well, bro. Like this was the third. This is going to be the third leg of the massive underdog parlay. Cal State Fullerton plus 230 at Stanford. This one's at Stanford. Why in the hell is Stanford a minus 315 favorite? There is no team right now that I would say I'm confident in Stanford being a minus 315 favorite. None. Like, explain to me what oozes the confidence to say Stanford should be this big of a favorite. There's none. Toby, there's none. The reason why they're a big favorite, Cal State Fullerton's a mid-major. Stanford is a storied program, and that's about it. Like Stanford, since they moved to the ACC, since really the start of NIL, has been left behind. They do not get these big names anymore. Stanford is academically Ivy League caliber.
Yep.
They used to be, even regardless of all the academic prerequisites you need, they still would recruit this top tier talent. But we've seen these guys leave in in droves the last few years. I mean, you look at the last couple of years, they lose Braden Montgomery, they lose Joey Volchko, they lose Matt Scott, they lose Timo Becerra, just to name a few. And this is the last, 2 or 3 years? It's insane. Stanford cannot retain and attract that talent anymore. You got Rintaro Sasaki, and that's pretty much it because geography.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth.
It is, yeah.
I mean, the Stanford pitching staff, no. Nick Dugan, he started last Friday. Like, he wasn't really good against Arizona. They don't have a guy like Quinn Matthews anymore.
Yeah.
They don't have that guy. Their offense isn't great. Like, you have some guys like Sasaki, Charlie Bates, JJ Moran's a big name to watch. Like, they have some guys that could swing it, but minus 315 on a Friday. Cal State Fullerton was a really, really dominant mid-major in the 2010s. That was always one of those teams to circle on, like how Coastal Carolina is in that mix. Like Cal State Fullerton, especially being a West Coast team, not really known for as much. Like that was one of the teams to watch.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why Stanford is this big. I would take Fullerton blindly. It doesn't matter to me who's throwing for the Cardinals. Probably going to be Nick Dugan again. That wasn't a starter last year. That was a guy that was really working out of the pen more. He got bombed by Arizona. And I think for Fullerton, it's Mikhail Nageti. He actually faced Stanford in the opening weekend last weekend. He went 6 innings. He gave up 5 runs, but none of them were earned. And they lost that game 6-3. So plus 230 is a large number here, dude. Like I just Stanford might win the series, but there's no reason they should be this big of a number. I think Fullerton can at least get one. And they have a pretty decent pitcher going. So I'd probably be taking Fullerton or pass. Like a lot of these dogs, I might take at least a half a unit nibble on because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this is also a Fullerton or pass for me. Stanford burned me last weekend. I took Arizona when they played. And, I take those games with a grain of salt, obviously, where they were playing. But I agree with you, man. I don't trust this offense from Stanford enough to really get this done when the line looks like this. Like, this is way too fishy to me. We talked about that last week, the fishiness of some of these lines, like the Southern Miss one, especially when they were minus 180. This is an even bigger red flag to me at minus 315. And not many of these bats on Stanford have been contributing that much. Bates, Sasaki, they've done their thing to start. They haven't been dominant, but they both, have done at least something to contribute. I'm interested to see if Brock Sell gets going this weekend. I still really liked him out of high school. Like, you are totally right where they can't really recruit very at a high level anymore. But, that was a guy going into the 25 draft I was pretty excited about. So I hope that he can maybe get going a little bit more this weekend. But I like Fullerton here, especially if you're throwing him in that long shot parlay, man. That's calling my name.
Yeah, I think I might throw a little taste on that. Speaking of Arizona, how about them? After last week, Kramkowski had a terrible start.
Yeah, dude, they're like crashing
and
and burning.
They give up a 5-run inning to Stanford and ultimately cost me a parlay. And I said, that's it. They're on the no-bet list. And I think they're going to stay there. They didn't. They're saving Kramkowski for tomorrow night. They threw Luke Flata tonight. 6th inning, they're down 3-0 against UConn.
Shout out Tulane.
All right, let's get to the headline game, or it was. TCU, who honestly had a really good weekend. It was marred by the last thing we saw was them getting absolutely boat raced by Oklahoma. And shout out to Oklahoma. They had a phenomenal
week.
But TCU gutted out a very difficult win against a great pitcher in Connor Fennell Vandy. They beat Arkansas. 2 really good wins before, getting smacked by Oklahoma. Now they go out to UCLA. But the problem is star ace Tommy Lepore had elbow soreness, and out of, quote-unquote, an abundance of caution, they're keeping him out this week. Now, hopefully he's fine. He misses 1, 2, maybe 3 starts at most. Just, obviously this is draft year. So this, his health is the most important thing. And, that's a huge thing. And they need him long-term for this year. But Laporte being out obviously deprives us of a great matchup. So in his stead, it's going to be Mason Brassfield. Everybody's moving up. Davis, the freshman who started on Sunday, is going to move up to Saturday. And then names escape me who they're now going to throw Sunday. But Mason Brassfield looked pretty good against Arkansas last week. Now, I'm very curious to hear what you think because obviously UCLA is the preseason #1 team in the country. They're at home. You got Rock Chalowski. You got a pretty good lineup. Pitching staff's, it's good, right? Like maybe I'm in the minority where I'm not like blown away by UCLA. I think it's a lot of hype. They're a good team, but they're a very good team. But I think playing in the Big Ten, pumps them up a little bit. But regardless, TCU plus 145. Do you have any interest with Mason Brassfield on the mound?
A little bit. I mean, honestly, after his start against Arkansas, seeing what he was able to do gives me a little bit more confidence when he's facing another high-level team. And, this could be another situation where, especially in college, these guys get so emotional, and it could be like I need to step up in this situation because Tommy's out and I need to step up for him and put together something really special here and take down the #1 team. Like that could very well happen. And that alone, could be enough reason to go bet on TCU. Seeing Rock Chalowski and the start that he's had and the spark that he is on that UCLA offense has me scared to bet against him. This is another one of those games too, because this was almost the exact same line as UCSB and Southern Miss. So for that reason, I do also kind of want to go TCU here. But at UCLA, no Laporte on the mound. I think this is one where I parlay with UCLA, and if they lose, it is what it is.
I totally understand. I don't think it's a bad look at all. Like UCLA definitely has an advantage without having to face Tommy Laporte. And the thing with Mason Brassfield, like his stuff looked really good. He was carving Arkansas, but he was a little bit inefficient with the strikeouts. Worked some deep counts. So realistically, especially now, like if Tommy Laporte misses an extended amount of time, they need Mason Brassfield to be good. So I'm sure Sarloos is going to be a little bit extra cautious with Brassfield now. So I don't know if I imagine Brassfield going much further than 5 innings, and can the bullpen, really make those big outs because they have talent in the bullpen. We saw it last week, but it got a little hairy. They have some guys that were letting on too many base runners, the walks, and working the counts, and just kind of couldn't put it away. Walter Quinn's the closer, but maybe just watching his delivery just gives me agita and anxiety. But how about Noah Franco? His shutout?
Dude, he is electric.
I'll say this. If I was inclined to bet TCU, I would probably wait until tomorrow evening because I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA gets steamed overnight and clear like the -210 threshold. Do I hate putting UCLA in a parlay? No, I don't. I just think if TCU is going to get one, it's going to be game 1. I feel like if they don't get game 1, they're going to get swept.
Yeah, and even if you could say that the pitching is a question mark, because I know, Brassfield has looked good, so I don't want to really call it a question mark. It's just an unfortunate situation is what we'll call it. TCU's bats have been great. I mean, Sawyer Strohsnyder didn't have an amazing weekend, but he had a really good one still. Just by his standards, they weren't crazy good. Chase Brunson looked awesome. That's another draft name to watch early on day 1. Rob Liddington, that dude tore the fucking cover off the baseball at Incarnate Word last year, and now he's tearing it up for TCU. I love that. Like these guys I'm going to be watching, and if they can put something really special together, I think definitely could result in a win for TCU. But I just think Rock Chalowski is going to go crazy and step up in a situation like this, man. He's been so good to start the year. They need him, and if he shows up, I think it's just going to be hard to beat this team tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, man, I completely understand. UCLA is a very good team. Obviously,
damn good.
Preseason #1. Like it's not breaking news, clearly. But I don't know. I think from a betting perspective, baseball is a very high variance game.
Yeah.
I don't know if taking UCLA with the juice here in this one is the right play. I'm not saying it's the wrong play. I just
Yeah.
think looking at this realistically, there's some serious question marks in what's now the Saturday and Sunday spot for TCU. So if you're inclined to bet the Frogs, I think tomorrow's the night. Because even though it's game one at UCLA, this is probably the closest in terms of evenness the pitching matchup's going to be. I think last weekend, and let's be real, like UCLA didn't look that good against UC San Diego.
No.
They lost. They lost the Sunday game. They barely hung on the Friday game, and then they had a little bit of distance on the Saturday game. Like they didn't look tremendous. This team, I understand it was opening week, but this team didn't blow me away in week one. So
Yeah.
I don't. I'm also not sure who's going to be starting. Like Logan Redmond opened up the Friday game last week, so maybe Redmond's going to be the Friday guy again. I mean, it could be Barnett, or really don't know. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference for me in terms
I
of
don't know.
betting the number. But in my opinion, dude, like I'd rather take TCU and try and capitalize on all the hype UCLA is getting, because the thing is, we see this a lot in the NFL, and we see this in, I mean, even the NBA. We see it in college football. Like these teams that are so highly touted and the front runner of the sport for the moment, and they have the number one projected pick, the Golden Spikes front runner, all this stuff, and it's all well and good. That's all true. But they're not going to win every game. There's games they're going to lose. So my thing is, like, sometimes you have to be able to see past all of the surface level stuff and be able to go against the grain and be able to kind of pick your moments where you're going to go against them. Because, like I said, I think if UCLA wins Friday, they're going to sweep the series, because I think they just have too much pitching and they have the advantage on Saturday and Sunday. But there's no definitive advantage they have on Friday against Brassfield.
Yeah, I mean,
like I said, I took TCU on last Friday, last Saturday, and last Sunday. I'm going to wait until probably this game opening pitch tomorrow is, I want to say, like, what is it? I think it's 9:00 Eastern time.
Probably, yeah. They probably want a 6 p.m. start over there.
So let me see. Yeah, this game is. Sorry, bear with me. This game's 8:00 tomorrow night. Gotcha. By the time 7:00 rolls around, I'll probably look at betting it, because I want to see if maybe TCU got up to like plus 170. And you get a better number, because UCLA's got the hype and people are like, well, no Tommy Laporte for TCU. UCLA's home. UCLA's number one team. TCU just got smoked by Oklahoma, blah, blah, blah. That's the time to buy. It's going to be Brassfield, who has really good shit. See if he can get them 5 innings and keep it under 3 runs, because TCU's got bats in order to compete with this UCLA lineup. Like this UCLA lineup, 1 through 9, isn't like the fucking 1927 New York Yankee Bronx Bombers or Murderers Row. It's not. They have a few really talented guys headlined by arguably the best college baseball player in the country, in Rock Chalowski. That's the truth of what it is. Like if Rock Chalowski goes like 2 for 4, doesn't hit a home run, he has no RBIs, and doesn't wreak havoc on the bases, which, I mean, he could, but he's not like a prolific base stealer. He's good. He's a good base stealer, but not prolific like Enrique Bradfield. Then there's a good chance UCLA puts up less than 5 runs.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a really good breakdown, honestly, because like you said, while UCLA is like, the easy, like, kind of, I guess, read here just based on the hype they've gotten preseason, I was betting on this TCU team all last weekend as well. They were like plus 145, I feel like, for most of those games anyway. And most of them, they capitalized for us. This team has been a lot of picks to win the entire College World Series. These are the types of games they're going to have to win come May, June. And they start doing it now, it makes that championship run for them much more likely, in my opinion, too. So I think there's a lot to play for. Like you said, Friday is their day to go do it. So honestly, I'm kind of with you there. 7 p.m. rolls around tomorrow. I'm going to be looking towards this game.
Yeah, and look, maybe there's some sharp action that comes in and knocks TCU down to like plus 125. So be it.
Yeah, and I will say if UCLA does go to minus 200, minus 215, there's no shot. I'll bet them in a parlay. Like no shot.
No. Yeah, I like that. I think the more I talk about it, the more like I kind of bounce it off you. I think TCU is.
Dude, I think if we get them valued like this at all this year, we got to take it. Like honestly, like I know I said I'd put UCLA in a parlay, but like, you know, the more we talk about it, the more I feel like we are not going to get TCU like this on Fridays too many times.
No, we're not. And I understand Tommy Laporte's out changes the entire complexion of the line and the game outlook. But Mason Brassfield, man, like I had questions about him going into the year in terms of like what his consistency looks like. We know what he could be. We've seen it, and we saw it last week against Arkansas. Like Arkansas is a top team in the country. It's a top program every year for a reason. He looked good. He was dotting as a lefty, especially. So, you know, again, it just, to me, this is the kind of moment where you take TCU. And if it loses, it loses. I'm not going to sit here saying, oh, you know, this, and that. Like, no, it is the, in my opinion, it is the sharp side. And it doesn't always mean it's going to win. But, you know, I think it's an opportunity for them to get after.
For sure.
I'll put it to you this way. They face, in my opinion, the best pitcher that they're going to face the last 2 weeks is probably going to be Connor Fennell.
Yeah.
And at least from a right-handed perspective. Like, Wyland Moss is a stud, but they're not facing him on Friday night. Angel Cervantes is going to be a superstar. I doubt he threw on Monday, I think, or Tuesday, whatever it was. He's not going to most likely not going to pitch in this game unless it's for an inning. So it's probably going to be Redmond or Barnett, and both of those guys are beatable.
Yes,
but all right. What was that?
No, I'm good, honestly. I was going to say something about Cervantes, but whatever.
All right, yeah, like I said, I want to keep it under an hour.
Yeah, no, we don't got to get into it.
Kick us off here with your squad. FAU at home against Iowa, plus money. Is this a plus money banger, Mr. Tobey?
I don't know, because, Iowa, they intrigue me a lot, too. I know they lost Obermueller, and, their rotation may be a bit of a question mark now because of that. FAU on Fridays, though, I kind of like them. James Littman, I like what they showed with him. Atatui, I'm not sure if he's going to be out of the pen. I know he pitched more than 5 innings, I think, in their midweek. So I don't know what Coach Max is going to want to do with him. But James Littman, man, went under 5 innings last time, 9 strikeouts. I don't know how many walks, if he had some. I can't really remember. But he looked really solid for a sophomore that stepped in and took the Friday starter role. They played a Notre Dame team that I was very intrigued about. Lost Carson Tinney, but replaced them with some pretty solid transfers. And they went out and took 1 from Notre Dame. This is one where, if FAU is going to win, it's going to be tomorrow. It's kind of like that TCU thing. And being dogs at home on Friday, doesn't hurt to sprinkle the Owls in there. Worked last week. Why not try it again?
So for my RotoWire article, I highlighted this game. I want to do something different. I like throwing in some mid-majors and some different looks. Like, obviously, it's cool to put in a lot of the Power 4 teams and the mainstream, but FAU is not really that notable. In my opinion, I don't really understand why Iowa on the road is, at least for the Friday game, a favorite. It's not a huge favorite, but it's still a pretty decent-sized favorite, minus 145 at FAU. They have no clear pitching advantage. I think Littman's a pitching advantage over Tyler Guerin. Tyler Guerin got his tits lit last week for 7 earned. Granted, it was against Kansas State, and Kansas State's and FAU were 2 different lineups. But, FAU, Tobes, as you know, man, they got 2 of their best bats returning.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall Lipsey's one of them. He had 12 home runs last year. He was pretty good. So they have some guys that can score. Like, I'm not saying this is a FAU team that's just going to come out on a Friday night and drop a 12-piece. But, hey, man, with Littman going, 5 runs might do it. And Iowa is not a team that hits a lot of home runs, at least coming into the year. They didn't have a lot of guys that profile as power hitters, a little bit more of an average hitting team. Tyler Guerin, I don't know if this is the guy that is favorite status on the road against James Littman. So I like FAU, man. FAU plus money at home Friday night. Better pitcher on the mound. Offense that has a little bit higher of a ceiling, I'd say, at least from star player perspective. I wrote FAU up as an official play. I'm going to pick FAU here. I actually have them in a long shot parlay. I think that's the one with Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken.
I like that pick a lot. And I mean, there's some pieces here that FAU got in the portal that, really have seemed to not move the needle on the entire team, but like at least affect the offense in a really major way to start. Michael Peraza has like a 220 WRC plus almost to start the year. Like he's like, I know it's like what, 4 games, but I mean, dude's been unreal.
I think he's from actually Jersey Shore area.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that, but Brett Patton, I believe, is another transfer. They do really well out of the JUCO circuit, so I love seeing who FAU brings in every year via the transfer portal. They have to do it a lot. They've lost a lot of guys to Texas A&M, so I'm excited to see what they do against Iowa, especially against a pitcher who, like you said, got lit up last weekend. This should be a good one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a sneaky game. I'm going to be locked in for FAU. I like what the Owls have, man. I think they're a pretty good team.
Sneaky AAC team.
Live mid-major program at home versus Pitt plus 130. Is that offered? I know there's a lot of games.
You check.
You're right. At home. Yeah. I mean, look, I'll be honest. I don't know enough about Long Beach State, but all I know is Pitt on the road, minus 166. Can't hurt to go with the dog. Dilly Daggers. Always digging into the obscure, Mr. Dilly Daggers. All right, Toby, got another Florida team here. UCF at Notre Dame. Actually pretty solid pitching matchup. Like Notre Dame is the bottom of the barrel in the ACC these days. Mm-hmm. They have a pretty good arm going. Jack Rattle has really made strides last couple years. I mean, dude, honestly, he had a sub. I think he had like a 3.8 something ERA in the ACC, which is good. As a Friday guy, he got destroyed by Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Wake, 3 of the better teams in the ACC. But outside of that, I mean, he was really, really good last year. He was really good. So I think UCF is the better team, but facing Rattle, I don't know if this is a layup. For UCF, they brought in transfer, is it Miller? I'll look it up. No, Braden Smith. That's who it is. Braden Smith had a good start last week. I think they placed Siena, 6 shutout innings. Fantastic. But, there's definitely a lot of question marks about this UCF team. I liked them as a dark horse last year, but they have a superstar bat, Andrew Williamson. That is a dog. For Notre Dame, I don't know if I love anybody on their offense outside of Bino Waters. That's a good ball player, Bino Waters. Rattle's good. I understand, UCF on the road. Pitching might be even. I just think the UCF offense is a little bit better. I'm not saying it's a slam dunk, but I like UCF here to get this one done.
Yeah, I do too. This is more, a game where technically, yes, they are the away team here, but I mean, this is their neck of the woods, man. North Florida, Jacksonville area, like this is their spot, and you don't let a team from South Indiana come in and but they're still technically on the road in this game.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
That's certainly going to be like an impact, though. The fact that they aren't going to have last ups in this first game. I mean, that probably would have helped Notre Dame a lot in that first game against FAU. This UCF offense led by Andrew Williamson is just too much fun to watch. And for that reason alone, I'm going to take them in this game.
Yeah, Andrew Williamson is enough of a reason for me just to take them blindly. Jack Rattle's good, man. I'm not saying he's like first round material, but he is a solid college arm, and he's gotten better. He's He's quietly good. Like Notre Dame on Fridays in certain matchups this year, especially at home, are going to be interesting underdogs to take a look at. Say that. Last game that I really wanted to highlight was Auburn against Kansas State. K-State had a really good weekend, man. They had a really good weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn, it was a little questionable. They really struggled against Youngstown. Chris Rembert got hurt. That's their star player. Definitely not an awesome start for Bush Thompson's crew. You think they should be favored against K-State on a neutral field? By the way, I think this is back in Arlington.
Yeah, I would still honestly favor him. I mean, this Auburn lineup is still pretty damn strong without a guy like Rembert in there. They still have, I think Freilic's a top 10 college bat in the next draft. I'm not sure where other outlets have him, but I think Baseball America does have him top 10. Him and other guys in this lineup have stepped up early on when Rembert hasn't. But, man, Kansas State, D. Kennedy, a lot of those guys, they look pretty damn good to start. This might be one where, honestly, I also like Kansas State just because I don't know when we're going to get Fridays where they're really valued like this. And like you already said, Youngstown State played Auburn really well. That team's not very good, at all. So I feel pretty good betting Kansas State here. I don't know how you feel about it, but I kind of like the Wildcats here.
I like Kansas State. I can see Auburn get steamed a little bit. Look, man, I'm not saying Auburn. I liked Auburn coming into the year. I think they're going to have a good year. But sort of like, who's the team that we mentioned earlier? Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
It could be in that situation like Louisville where not necessarily an identity crisis, but just struggling to find their footing.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to sit there and say, wow, Auburn's a minus 130 favorite. This isn't necessarily the Auburn team we're going to see mid-season. Some teams are just slow out of the gate. And look, Auburn's throwing a pretty solid guy in Jake Marciano, the transfer from Virginia Tech. He had a good opening week. I just don't like what they look like opening weekend. Now, Auburn could come out and just destroy them. But again, neutral field, Globe Life. There's a lot of question marks on Auburn right now, especially without Rembert. They have talent. But Kansas State, man, they're hot. They're rolling. They got some really good performances last week. And, I think on a neutral field as a dog, there's no definitive, glaring advantage for Auburn in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And honestly, I can see Auburn becoming a little bit more towards 140, 145 by the time first pitch happens tomorrow night. But I think I'm leaning Kansas State here. I'm still up in the air if I'm going to make that an official play.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah. But anything else that you're looking forward to watching that we might have not touched on?
I think we touched on all of it, man. I know you're trying to keep it under an hour today, so I think we're good.
I got a fresh cut, brother. That's what happened. I got to debut the fade. I got a nice cut. Feel about UNC Oregon State 2-leg moneyline parlay. I think that's pretty solid, man. That should be a pretty decent little payout. I think that's a 1 unit type of play. Might end up giving that out. Jason DeCaro, Dax Whitney. I think that's very solid.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to bring up off the rip here. So we mentioned some big underdogs. The one big underdog that I really wanted to talk about we didn't mention. Xavier. Xavier at Arkansas? They're plus 500. I know it's Gabe Gackle day, and it's Baum Walker. It's opening day at Baum Walker. Any chance we think Xavier takes one against Arkansas?
Oh, dude, if you don't think they're going to go into Baum Walker and try to be that pesky Xavier Musketeers team they always are, man, again, I got another thing to tell you. They don't go away.
Yeah.
And I know, like you said, it's Gabe Gackle bump day, but, dude, they're going to find a way to stay in this game. I promise you. And, if they don't, I'll look stupid. But I really do think they're going to find a way to stay in this game. Still like Arkansas, but I do think they'll find a way.
I hate to say it because, I think plus 500 is just such an insane number, especially this early in the season. I don't think Arkansas is going to lose this game. So that's why I think something along the lines of a run line, you could probably end up getting Xavier plus 5.5, which I think is fair. That's a realistic play. Ryan Peschel, he had a pretty good start last week against ECU. I definitely think he'd go out there and at least be solid. But I think maybe Xavier on the run line when it comes out, we'll see what it looks like. I think that's pretty solid. And then the other one, VCU against Coastal Carolina. So the reason I bring that up, Cam Flukie has a rib injury, and he's being held out this week. So I think it's Luke Jones. So Cam Flukie's out. And then Dominic Carbone, one of their key relievers, he's out for the year and had to get Tommy John surgery. So VCU is plus 280. Like, Coastal Carolina is obviously a great team, but should they be laying almost minus 400 without their star ace on the mound and key reliever?
Yeah, I don't know. And, this VCU team was my A10 pick to win the conference this year. So I love VCU this year. They've got some guys that, you probably will hear of towards the end of the year a lot more. I think Coastal is just way more complete than maybe we really take them for, because, we obviously look at the guys like Cam Flukie and the big names in the offense. But I think they'll step up tomorrow. They'll get it done. It's going to be interesting, though. VCU is an interesting team, and I love that you brought that matchup up.
Yeah, I just thought it was worth touching on. But
definitely.
Yeah, so I think overall that it was a pretty good slate breakdown in terms of like games that I feel like both of us found bettable. But we got one more. It's like a Boston. Don't you dare call me a Boston guy. Get the fuck out of here. North Jersey, never Boston. Say a Boston guy. Come on. But appreciate everybody locking in with us here on this Friday this Friday slate. Hopefully lines will be up at a reasonable time tomorrow night for us to preview the Saturday slate with some different looks, different matchups. But in case you haven't done it, as a reminder, don't forget to join the 2026 College Baseball VIP Discord. Go on to my Twitter bio. You can find it in the links and bio section, dubclub.win/_JohnnyVTV/. Everybody, thank you so much for locking in with us this evening. Best of luck tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.